I would like to move on to
Oh,
Mike in California. Does that work for you? I hope so.
yeah, you go for it.
Mike, you are with us. You're with Katy
Hey,
Montgomerie, Johnny P. And
Hi.
hey.
your question was comparing secular humanism and religion, which one has been better for the world? What do you think about that?
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to kind of dive into this a little bit, in part just because I had a rather long conversation with somebody fairly recently about this. But let me just throw out some ideas, and then you can kind of springboard off them. So I guess I would say I really think if humanity rejected the concept of religion, and I would include like the cosmic religion of Einstein in that, then I think some type of chaos or anarchy, if you want to call it, would ensue. I think most humans can't even see the way that we harvest other animals is horrendous, or the way we try to change the behavior of criminals is completely upside down. You may see like moral chaos as an extremist view of a possible future without religion, but I think that's really what would happen. You know, on the surface level, the whole analogy that Dillahunty uses of a chess game and trying to objectify morality that way seems to make sense on the surface level, but I think if we scrutinize it, it kind of falls apart.
All right, Mike, I'm going to slow you down here. You're kind of you're covering a lot of material, and I don't want you to blow your load all at once. So let's go back. That's the clip. I'm trying for the clip, but who knows? We'll see what happens. Do we think that if you believe that if humanity as a whole were to reject the idea of religion, including what you're calling Einstein's some sort of cosmic sense of religion,
religion is what he calls it, yeah.
Okay, what are the tenets of a cosmic religion is a question that I would have. But let me, before we go into that, that it would be anarchy and chaos in the world. That is your assertion.
Those are strong words, but yeah, I can't predict the future. But I think that that the fabric of society would get even more fractured than it is now.
It's awfully fractured.
I'm not convinced of that claim, and I'm not really. I mean, perhaps you've got some evidence I'm unaware of, but if we were to suddenly take away religion today, and we did it by providing conclusive evidence that gods aren't real or something, there might be a huge moment of chaos. Like, that's gonna be a big deal for a lot of people. I think losing someone's religion, losing religion you've had your whole life can cause a lot of turbulence in your life. But if we just say, well, the world is generally trending to being less religious, and maybe in 1,000 years' time we'll get to the point where the majority of people aren't religious. I'm not convinced that would then would get to like a tipping point where suddenly the society would stop functioning. I mean, like, for example, there are countries now that are significantly more secular than other countries, and I don't think there's any evidence that they are more chaotic. And I don't know which country it is which has the highest percentage of non-believers, but obviously, let's just say the UK is like 50% non-believers. I don't know what the number is, but if that's the case, and the UK is still arguably functioning, then we would say, well, why wouldn't that work for the whole world? So 50% is obviously not the line. So at what point, when are we going to get to the point where society's on the edge, or and when is it going to be unsustainable? Is it when there's 49% of people are believers, or 10%, or 0.1%? We've just heard that the UK is the second highest percentage of non-believers, which is
number one Japan.
After Ukraine.
It's Ukraine. Wow.
Can I jump in, Katy? Because you said a lot there. I'd like to respond if I could.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a very good point, and I think taking a specific example like the UK is a great idea. But so let's just hypothetically say we do that, and so let's say that probably the best way to completely remove religion would be to tear down all the cathedrals and get rid of the other artifacts of religion, including the art and the music and everything else.
Right, but I don't think that would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying hypothetically, right? If we really wanted to try to like remove religion out of the picture, you would have to do that. So I guess my point is this: that yeah, I get what you're saying, and I know that the UK has become quite a secular place to live. Obviously, much more so than the United States. But I think that even though it is, I don't even know what the statistics are exactly. I know you quoted some of them. But in terms of
we might have been wrong on that.
Yeah, somebody sent us an alphabetical list. So, in full disclosure, probably not
Sorry,
you
everyone.
in the UK.
No, but I guess
Cancel the ACA.
I think that I understand that. No, let me just finish up real quick. So,
yeah, go ahead.
So, I think that even though I get your point that you can have maybe China might be even a better example, or take Soviet Russia, prior in prior years. You can maintain order, and I guess maybe chaos or anarchy wouldn't necessarily ensue, but I just think that the fabric of the best parts of what it means to be human suffer in those types of situations. I mean,
I don't think so.
See, that's a separate claim. I think.
Let's say like China has a lot of.
All right.
Yeah, but
a lot of structure and. No,
I've got a few.
Go ahead if you want to interrupt me.
I've got a few comments.
I muted you, Mike, and not to be rude, but there's the delay, right?
Yeah.
Katie, you wanted to say something, and I want to say something.
Yeah, I'll just two comments. I guess my one quick comment is you said in order to get rid of religion, we'd need to like tear down the cathedrals, and I just want to say I think that's false because there are religions that have died that we fully know about and we still study. For example, the Norse gods, like that is a dead religion. We're aware of it. And we have some artifacts and we don't need to destroy them in order for that religion to no longer exist. We could absolutely leave all the cathedrals up. And I think that'd be great because some cathedrals are beautiful and people just stop believing. But anyway, on the the second point, I think when you're saying, well, the best part of what being human is would go if we got rid of religion. I think that's kind of the premise, which is directing your original comment of society would break down if we didn't have religion, and that's I think misguided. For example, in my life and my friends, people just do not talk about religion. We don't have a religion. People don't even talk about atheism. They kind of think I'm a weirdo for talking about atheism on the internet because they're just like, why would anyone? No one cares. And we're all living the dream over here. Like, I'm having a good time. I'm happy. I don't feel unfulfilled in any sense, like spiritually or anything like that. Yeah. And I think that you're maybe trying to imagine for you what it would be like without religion. Then you're saying, well, I'd be missing a huge part of my life. And if that was across the whole world, sure, people could function. They could go to work and go to school, but they would be missing something. And I'm just saying that's not the only alternative. You could live your life like me and be totally happy and not need religion. And I think that's maybe why you're making this conclusion. I don't want to put like words in your mouth, but that's the idea I'm getting. But anyway, Johnny, did you want to?
Yeah, you said a lot, and there's so much to respond to. And I do really appreciate your calling, Mike. And you're still on mute, and it's not because I think you're a troublesome caller in any way. I want to say something too.
Right, that's enough, Johnny. You've had your say.
Yes, that's right. Now, the first thing is we don't need to tear down the cathedrals and all the beautiful artwork that was sponsored by the church, who were in large part the only people with lots of money in the Middle Ages and in years past. All we have to do is keep on doing programs like this. All we have to do is let church leaders rape children and adults, and eventually people will realize that between the hypocrisy of religious leaders and the RICO-esque behavior of religious organizations and the critical evaluation of the bold claims, the unsupported bold claims made by these religionists, that eventually people will stop turning toward magical thinking and will eventually walk away from it, or not. But I do think that over time, these claims do not stand up to scrutiny. So we just need to keep on having those conversations. And while with that said, I want to know exactly what it is. What exactly do these religions provide that a fear of going to jail, a fear of reprisal, or basic human compassion and basic human, I don't want that to happen to me, so I'm going to pay for a police force and a military force to enforce the laws that I think are just. What does the religion do that material force does not provide? And now you are off mute, Mike. That was my question to you. Get specific.
Okay, that was a lot there, and
Yes.
so basically, let's kind of move on from that point, because I think I agree with you guys. And
no, Mike, we're not going to move on. I'm sorry, and I mean this with the greatest friendly conversation. Okay. I want to know specifically, because you made the claim, and you did back it up. It's not going to be chaos. Okay. It's not going to be dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Not even a conversation anymore.
Right. But what is it exactly that the religion provides that I don't want to go to jail doesn't provide political forces?
I can give you a good answer on that one.
Okay, cool.
So I would say that the religion provides, in fact, the thing of it is, we all actually have all of that psychological structure that all the religions have given us through culture and whatever knowledge we've gained personally through study or whatever else. So we take those ideas and, we take them out of religion as we learn or study or listen to people, and then, we apply them. I guess, I don't want you to think that to take my perspective in a wrong way.
Yeah.
I just think that for me personally, the study of religions and the philosophers and sages out of history are the sources that I've gained almost all of what I consider wisdom and things that are really true and good. So we could just take religion and just replace the golden rule. And if people really live that out, we wouldn't need religion, right? So, I agree with all of that. And I don't, I don't slam on atheists, because I understand it's a rational perspective. I really do. I can say that. But I think that there are things that are transcendent to, this naturalist paradigm that we're taught in the uni system and everything else that we've all been indoctrinated with. I think that you do need some transcendence. And I think I'll end this quickly and I'll let you respond.
No, I'm breathing because I'm agreeing with you that there is something transcendent, but I do want to hear transcendent conceptually. But go on.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, say, I think there's a reason that when Nietzsche in the Enlightenment era tried to pronounce God as dead, that the most intelligent philosophers of that era, the existentialists, saw the gaping hole of nihilism awaiting in terms of how that plays out. And when, I try to start with the God of Spinoza and Einstein and go from there. And what I mean is that at a minimum, we need something that transcends the purely physical to understand the true ultimate nature of reality. The hidden nature of reality can be much stranger than we might think. And, that's just the whole quantum stuff and relativity. But it's if a label is necessary, we might call it like panentheism. The human conceptions of the omni-attributes of God are nothing but, pre-science conceptions of what a God possibly could be. I adhere to the perennial philosophy where, you take the best out of all religions throughout all of history. And I think that whatever is transcendent to our consciousness has been directing humans in some way throughout all of human history. I think hyper-skepticism and the demand for evidence for all of these types of things, is kind of a roadblock in terms of really advancing us as human beings. And sadly, contemporary Western Christianity has become something that the founder never intended.
Well, let me say this, Mike. I think if we want to boil down, if if a supposedly objective party were to try to boil down the best lessons of religion, right, the essentials of religion, what's to stop another individual from another cultural tradition from saying, oh, yes, I agree with boiled down bullet point 4, 6, 8, 12, and 15, but you're forgetting about the fact that 1, 2, 6, 7, and 8 are also. And I reject number 15 because 15 contradicts with my number 27. All you would find is a bunch of people disagreeing on what are the essential good aspects of religion. And I think what all of those people are doing is they're coming from their own individual cultural context, and they're saying these are essential aspects of the goodness in all religions. I think you're still coming down to a culture clash of individuals, and I think ultimately the way you avoid that is to try to put humanity's well-being at the very center of what you think is the best. Not trying to placate a God being, but try to do the best, provide the best circumstances for the most people, recognizing individual liberties all along the way. And even then, we're going to have disagreement as to what constitutes well-being, and that is a constant dialogue. Where we remember there were minimum sentencing mandates that in the 90s that came down in the United States, and people thought that these minimum sentencing guidelines that the judges had to follow would result in decrease in crime because people would see these hard ass sentences, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. So that was something that we tried and failed, and I think we're going to have to, through the course of the rest of our history, ignoring the traditions that we've laid out over the centuries, and take a critical view of what works and what doesn't. And the reason why we need to take a critical view of it, as opposed to honoring the religious traditions of the past, is because when you start pulling religion in and tradition in and reverence for the past, now certain concepts, certain traditions, cultures,
you're not allowed to change them.
You can't question it. They have a weight. Well, you have to respect my religion. Well, no, I'm not respecting your religion. I'm trying to figure out what works. And I'm sorry that you've been practicing this particular rule for 1,000 years, but there's no evidence to suggest that it works. It's garbage.
I think that this idea of like pick the best from each religion is kind of I don't see any value in that. I mean, it's a way of coming up with a moral system. Like you could look at all the religions and you could see which ones you like, or even which ones, like Johnny says, work. It'll give you some kind of good result, and you could combine them.
Sure.
But in that case, why would you choose that as a method of coming to like a conclusion, just looking at religions, when you could do that in a secular way, and you could look at all the things we've just done as a society, and also do some science and understand how society works, and you could come to a better like system like in a secular way, and then you don't have the burden of you must follow this part of my religion because it's a tradition, and you must follow this part of my religion because God says. I mean, like if you're basically, what I'm saying is, if there's all these different worldviews and you're trying to make a new one by picking the best bit of each one, why would you limit yourself to religions? And why would you take the fact that they are religions into account at all? Why wouldn't you just look at all of these as just different worldviews? Some of them are secular, some of them are religious. Who cares? We completely ignore the religious aspect. We just pick all of the good bits, or the bits that we think are good, and then we argue about them based on what results they've had. I just don't think picking the best bits of religion is a valuable. It's just not a worthwhile thing. I don't think, specifically targeting religions.
Are you guys still there?
Yes. Sorry, I was on a rant. Go ahead.
I heard a beep, so I thought I was muted. Yeah, no, I agree with almost all of what both of you said, and I don't think there was any question from Johnny, but you did throw a question in there. But I think maybe it might be more beneficial for me to just kind of give a little more information as to what my perspective is. So as I said, I think like say Western Christianity has, really has become something deformed from what I think the founder intended, and I understand if an atheist, has never really experienced what they would consider the divine or transcendent oneness. I know you had mentioned with the previous caller, like you experienced something in a black metal concert that you compared to, something in a church, which I guess you could try to compare those experiences. But I think, the feeling of transcendent oneness that you can experience, that might transcend, the current naturalist paradigm is what I'm talking about. I personally experienced that oneness in a variety of ways that I can't explain through modern science. My own way of approaching my reality is to try to use every conscious, intentional thought as something positive for all beings, and that you could say that I'm a Taoist, a Buddhist, a Vandana Hindu, and a Christian all rolled into one, minus any of the doctrines or dogma that are obviously false and not what, that the true sages intended. So, I guess that would be my perspective.
Like, so I don't mean to just like ignore what you said and just go back to one starting point, but I just guess the first thing that you said there was like, Christianity has become what the founder didn't intend. And like my first thought is, well, yeah, that's because like slavery is illegal now. There was a lot of intentions from all, like, I mean, most of these religions that I'm aware of, there's a lot of crap in there that is just genuinely bad.
Shit in the applesauce.
Intended. And again, like,
applesauce.
Yeah, we can say, oh, well, no, because, Jesus is God and he intended everyone to love each other. And yeah, but that's just you picking the idea of loving each other. And as a secular society, you can come up with, let's all love each other. And in that case, the fact that Jesus is a religious figure doesn't bring anything to the table.
Hey, Mike, and Katie, I'm gonna stop you there. Mike, I like this call. You threw a lot at us, and we said 10 times more than you said to us. But I want you to call back, okay? I want you to call back next week. I want you to call back when I'm on the show. I'd like to stick with one of these ideas. I appreciate where you're coming from of picking the best, ignoring the dogma, picking and choosing. I think what you're doing is what all of us do. You're using your own personal sense of right and wrong to cherry pick the good stuff. And it sounds like you're on a journey, like we all are, on a journey to try to figure out how to live the best life we can for ourselves and for others. But and that's great. And maybe we don't agree on the methodology to get there, but it sounds like we're on this on an adjacent path to you, right? Except maybe we're not looking at the trees as much. But I have to let you go, Mike. Please, thank you so much for calling, and we're gonna let you go. But I want to see you next time on the show. Okay, is that all right, Mike?
Thanks, Mike.
Yes.
Okay.
That was a yes. That was the dulcet tones of Mike's background music saying yes.